following program makes use of copywritten material as part of a psychological examination of music. All music copyrights remain property of their respected creators. Hey guys, I'd like to just take a second of your time to talk about one of our sponsors, which would be 12th Street Bar. 12th Street Bar is definitely one of the places in town that are, if you got a night off, you're not working that night, your kids are taken care of, just go to 12th Street Bar. There's really no question on what to do as far as nightlife in Huntsville, Texas. As a matter of fact, anywhere around Huntsville, this is the only bar I can think of that I'd rather spend my time than anywhere else. You got the environment, the atmosphere of it is very comfortable. They've even got couches out in the front. You've got that. That's just one tiny little piece of what makes 12th Street Bar so great. You've got the staff ever working their ass off. They're always busting ass. Make sure that you've got your drinks. When you go there, tip these people. Tip the waitresses. Tip your bar staff. They're always working. They're never BSing. They're always doing what they can for the customer. And honestly, in my opinion, that's a very important thing to me. And if I was working there, my initial thought would be, what's very important to me is, that the customers are showing that they care. So tip, definitely tip. Those are just small pieces of what makes 12th Street Bar so great. In my opinion, one major thing is like the sound. What's going on? What's the music like? And it's not a place that just plays like whatever's on the friggin' quarter machine or whatever, the jukebox. This is one of those places that if they're not doing karaoke, which is fucking great merit in itself, because you get to see people making asses of themselves or, trying out like they're doing American Idol. If they're not doing that, then they're doing shows. They've got shows almost every Saturday. I'm looking at the lineup right now. On the 4th, which is this Saturday, you've got Den Mother and the Palace Saints, or just Palace Saints. I don't know if there's a "the" in it. Both bands are really freaking badass. They have I wouldn't call it gent, but like they've got like a prog rock sound to them. I've seen Den Mother before, and they were badass. Honestly, I was kind of mind blown watching the guy play the guitar. He just played the shit out of it. A great band in every element. On the 11th of February, you've got Logan McCoon and the Pickets, which obviously great bands. If you want to know about how great they are, you can check on our previous episodes. We've done an interview with both the Pickets, and we've done an interview with Logan McCoon, and they are really talented musicians. The Pickets, they can pretty much make everybody in the room fucking dance. I don't know what it is, but they got this skill to them. It's not just the music. It's not just how talented they are as musicians, but they can literally, like, they've got this magical force to get everybody fucking moving. It's crazy. I enjoy them. I think they're a great band. Logan McCoon, the great thing about Logan is, number one, you can hear what he's saying. Number two, what he's saying is fucking magic. He plays a guitar, man. It makes me cry, man. I get weepy. It's fucking badass. Logan's music is probably the deepest of a lot of the other musicians I've talked to, had the privilege to. I really enjoy it, and I'm not like an acoustic music kind of guy, but I enjoy listening to that guy just play the shit out of the guitar and just feel it, man. He fucking feels it. On the 25th of February, you've got JT3O, also known as John Tolan Trio, which we've also done an interview with before. Fucking badass guys. They funk out, man. It's crazy the kind of skill, man, that all of those guys have, the kind of mood. I'd say a lot like the Pickets in a certain sense, just like they can make the whole room move. Like, you feel it. They're going to be playing with Trainwreck, which I've also heard, and they are pretty badass. I'd say more of a bluesy sound to them, but like the show is a lot of fun because they use like these black lights and they've got like bright colored strings, and like they know what the fuck they're doing. Like I can't explain it, but it's a lot of fun to watch. Like all these bands that I mentioned. 12th Street Bar is located at 1024 12th Street, Huntsville, Texas. It's like in the square. Like it's easy as fuck to find. Just go look across from the old movie theater and it's there. I mean, you can't see much. There's not like a giant neon sign or anything, but you really can't miss it. You know, I mean, it's comfortable. If you guys are into like Pokemon Go, they've got like 3 different I forgot what they're called, 3 different spots, you know, that you can collect all your Pokeballs and shit. And also if you go in the back patio, you got a gym. Like, I don't know if you guys are into Pokemon Go, but that is definitely a plus. Any of the drinks, any of the times that they're open, any information that you need, if you're not getting it from me word of mouth right now, you can find it at 12thstreet.bar online. 12th Street Bar is definitely a place I recommend for anybody in town that's never really gone out, or if they're used to, you know, shitty fucking, I don't know, like whatever we have in town as far as bars. I mean, this is the only one I'd really recommend to anyone looking to have fun. It's a great experience. Don't miss out. 12th Street Bar. Hello, guys. This is John with the Conversationalists podcast, and I got my buddy over here, Niko Cantu, ready to talk some jive turkey with you all.
Are you even trying anymore?
Hey, guys. We got a pretty badass fucking show for you guys.
For sure.
I had to bite a bullet.
Don't say it like that. When we listen to Mindless Self-Indulgence, I'm going to bite the bullet. This was a fucking graze against the arm compared to what I got to go through for that shit.
Yeah. I had to graze against the arm for this. No, this is actually a really great band, Circa Survive. I really put them off for a long time because I didn't initially like really dig the style. But this is one of those things whenever I started listening to the band for this episode, I found something, you know, I found a track that really, really motivated me in a certain way, but I just loved it. I fell in love with the track, and this is, you know, I just didn't expect it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was really odd for me, and it was a lot of fun doing the research for this. Mm-hmm. A lot of research. But I learned something new. And, today, you get to learn something new.
Yeah, we talk about my favorite band of all time, and it was truly a pleasure to finally do the show like this. And it was definitely an awesome time getting to listen and talk about my favorite band with you. You're over-exaggerating a little bit by biting the bullet, I feel. But whenever I can share a little piece of me with you and vice versa, whenever you get to do that for me, it's always what makes me the most happiest about doing this show. So finally being able to do that this far into it makes me very happy that we're still doing this.
Right.
So definitely a fun show.
Definitely a great band, really.
Yeah, definitely.
When it comes down to it, these guys are all very, very talented. You know, it's what you would consider to be like an indie band, but they draw from like post-hardcore, experimental, emo, progressive, art rock. Some from pop and soft rock.
Yeah.
You know,
some of those genres are genres that we haven't even begun to touch on this show yet. So it's cool that we're definitely starting to scratch the surface.
Yeah,
even though some of those bands are a little unbearable to listen to, like we said in the very beginning, though, like these are all pieces of music that we want to honor and appreciate and listen to, and make sure that you guys are giving a chance and just opening your minds and opening your hearts to new genres of music. So. Yeah,
absolutely. And if you're not a big fan of the band, you're gonna learn today.
You're gonna learn today.
And you know, and if you are a big fan of bands like Circa Survive, then you're really gonna enjoy this because we go balls deep into the story, and definitely a lot of interesting facts I had no idea had anything to do with Circa Survive.
Yeah.
And Yeah, the lead singer looks like a giant erect penis and turtle in one. If a giant erect penis and a turtle had a baby.
You're going way off the wall with this one, Johnny. Just take us there.
All right. Welcome to the Conversationalists.
Let's talk music.
Hey, man.
Oh man, we are about to talk about my favorite band of all time, tied with the Deftones. And I remember when we were doing the Deftones episode, I was like, they're my favorite band of all time. But in the back of my head, I was like, are they really my favorite band of all time? Because there's this other band out there that I would gladly say is probably my favorite band of all time.
You know, whenever it comes to favorite bands of all times, you know, there's like a list for me. Obviously, we've talked about it.
Yeah.
But it seems like every once in a while, like, I'll find a band that, like, really, it kind of changes my opinion of my list.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? I'll find a band and I'll be like, actually, this has to be in that top. I don't know why I didn't consider this
Your list
in the
is
top
consistently, like, evolving,
It's
changing.
No, I mean, like, I hate to say that because I want a legitimate list that exists forever. Like, list of favorite albums would include Tragic Kingdom from No Doubt.
Yeah.
But I'm not always feeling that. I'm very rarely feeling that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And even with, like, the bands, like, I'd say Deftones is in the top, but I'm not jamming any Deftones anytime lately.
Right.
It's just I don't want to take them off the list of the most meaningful to me.
Right. Well, I don't know if that just means you gotta just expand your list or not leave it so close to like numbers. Like me, I know for a fact I have like my top 5 that's always gonna be
Right.
my top 5, and
Right.
everything else that comes into my life that I discover nowadays is like they're on the list, but it's like I always have my top 5 that I
Right.
always go to, no
Well,
matter what.
I think that we're both on the same page on that, though,
Yeah.
is what I'm saying, though, because, you know, I haven't been listening to Deftones, but that is one that's always continuously there.
Right.
You know, I'd hate to just take them off of such an important list.
Yeah, totally.
Um,
And that's how I feel whenever I come across the band that we're going to talk about today, because it's like Deftones have been my favorite band for longer than this band, because they've been a band longer than this band, obviously. But it's like as soon as I heard them, it was like, whoa, hold your horses there, Deftones. There's this new kid in school that's sort of stealing my attention. So,
right.
but I'm just gonna go ahead and cut to the chase. Band we're talking about is Circa Survive, and I imagine there's gonna be a lot of people who have never heard of this band before, and that's totally okay.
Right.
That's absolutely all right, because they very much are an indie band. They very much are under the radar. They haven't exploded as many of the other bands that we've covered. I think the only other artist that we've done that's probably come, you know, close to not being as shot up as the others, maybe Lana. You know, she was very indie. So
Modest Mouse, probably not so much.
But with them, they've at least hit MTV status.
Yeah.
Circa's never done that.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Modest Mouse is probably, and Modest Mouse has a lot more of like a cult following, I would say.
Right.
Circa has a cult. They have a fan base, no doubt. But I think since Modest Mouse has been going since like what did we say was like the late 90s or something like that, mid 90s.
Technically, I think the 80s.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh wow, I totally forgot about that. But anyways, so they've been going for such a long time. It's like they've earned that shit. Circa, they started in 2005. Man, so it was really exciting for me as I was really excited.
Was it 05 or 04?
No, it was 05. But what was really exciting about this for me was I know way too much damn information about this band, and it's because it being one of my favorite bands, much like how I imagine when we did like Marilyn Manson, and you had his book, and the Nine Inch Nails, you had your whole little goddamn book report with pictures and graphs and
no, see, I had to do a book report on this one, because I haven't stayed familiar. And before I even thought of the idea to do this episode, which it actually did come to me initially because I knew we just got done with Nine Inch Nails and. Man, I gotta throw you the bone, man. I can't just do what I want to do. But I knew that this is a band that you were definitely gonna want to dig. So beforehand, I started listening to Circa Survive, and there was one song that I thought was really pretty cool, and then I shared it, and then you were like, "Nah, man, you gotta check this motherfucker out and this motherfucker out." And I was at work, and you just kind of kept throwing shit at me. I was like, dude, you got to give me a break. But you did say, listen to this specific album, a very specific album. And you didn't say the name of the song, but it was the first track on the album. And I was fucking replaying this shit out of it.
I remember you saying that you basically put it on repeat. And I was like, welcome to my world, buddy.
Yeah.
But before we get there, fucking Circa Survive, they've existed since 2000. Maybe it was 2004. 2005, 2004.
Yeah. Well, I think they initially started with like 2004, like him, Anthony Green, and the guy with the really weird name,
Colin Francescetto.
Francescetto.
Okay, hold on a second. It's gonna the band is Anthony Green on vocals, Colin Francescetto on guitar, Brendan Ekstrom on guitar, Nick Beard on bass, and Steve Clifford on drums.
Can I say something about that?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen like a really erect penis that's just ready to blow up?
Yeah.
Just exploding.
Yeah.
That's what Anthony Green looks like whenever he's singing. Between that and a turtle, especially the way he mouths his words, it's kind of turtley.
Right.
I thought it was a very important point.
Are you talking about how veiny his neck gets?
That's the veiny penis.
Yeah.
I mean? And then also a veiny turtle. You ever see a turtle, it's got like the little, very struggling.
I've never seen a veiny turtle, but I've seen a veiny turtle dick before. And that's just like Anthony Green's neck.
I think you're talking about a dill pickle.
Probably. Very well played, sir. But anyways, they got together, and the main reason why they got together is before Circa Survive ever existed, there was this band called Seosin that Anthony Green was the lead singer of. Seosin was on their way to becoming a super duper popular band. They had been playing for probably a couple years, and they were on their way to becoming like signed. You know what I mean? This was back in like the early 2000s, where there's still the excitement and still the whole like we're getting signed to a label, guys. That whole joy and that whole excitement. So they were on their way to doing that, to do bigger and better things for their band. And at the last second, since the band was based out of California and Anthony Green lives in the Pennsylvania area, at the last second he was at the airport and he was going to fly over there, and he decided not to. Like last second, he said, "I don't want to do this," and he claims it was he was just scared of like committing to that. And you gotta imagine for like your band is about to blow up. You're about to be living the dream that you always wanted, and like at the last second, you realize I don't want to do this anymore.
Right.
Would you ever feel like you'd be put in that sort of situation, like if you had like a family, or I mean, you do have a family, but if you had something that was like holding you back, and you were like your dream is like right in front of you, like literally you just got to go into the door into the plane and fly, and a few hours later you're starting your dream.
It's hard to answer because I mean it's a thought that I've had for a long time, especially with the band that we had, and the ready to move forward, what we're gonna do. It's a very scary feeling. But I haven't felt it in such extreme, so I don't really know exactly how I'd handle it.
Right.
I'd like to say that I'd just fucking dance it, move on, push forward.
Right.
But it wouldn't be really right for me to answer out of complete. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I understand that, and I feel like if I was in that situation, I would have gone for it because that's my whole life. But. Right. Getting into his head and knowing the type of person he is, it makes kind of sense to me. I think that's a huge like they were just fucking kids back then. Like they were just young dudes and they're taking this huge leap.
Right.
It's totally understandable to be scared. So after
plus that band sucked anyway.
Seosin?
I'm just kidding. I don't
No,
know. I actually didn't even. I listened to the other bands that they came from.
Yeah.
But not Seosin. I listened to. I mean, I guess you're going to go into it further, but This Day Forward, actually, I thought was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But anyways, but no, Seosin, they found a new singer like maybe a few years later, and they actually they released a pretty good album, and they got to MTV status. So it's pretty much everything that was lined up for them. I imagine whenever Anthony left, there was a little bit of a detour, and there was like, we got to find somebody else, and we got to rewrite these songs. So yeah, they went on to do great things, but they kind of decayed after a while. But
yeah, I remember there was a hot time for them.
Oh yeah, they were pretty big for like
people talking about them in high school. Yeah, man, you listen to Seosin? I'm like, nah, dude, I listen to different music.
Yeah. Which is funny because this was kind of in the beginning of like the whole
hardcore.
That was hardcore, and then like post, and then like alternative.
Well, Circa is post-hardcore.
Yeah.
Because it came from like This Day Forward was hardcore.
Yeah.
But it was like even the soft version of what hardcore was. I guess it was softcore. It was like the porn in the middle of the night on Cinemax or whatever.
Right.
No, I mean it was kind of like decaying that hardcore sound. What I think that. Francetto, or is that his name?
Francescetto
said was it was kind of like a feminine version.
Yeah.
Like it was just kind of a little bit more of a comfortable tune, you know. And of course, Circa's got that same feel, you know. So when Circa started doing, what they were doing, you could definitely feel that it was from that era.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I'm just saying, like, they started just as like those bands were coming out. I don't know if you remember any of these bands, but like there's like Chiodos, and then there was Devil Wears Prada, and then like those like scene bands.
Yeah.
They were they kind of showed up at the same time they did, so it was kind of weird. Like I don't think they got tossed into that category, but they sort of like. If you could find someone's like, what kind of music do you listen to? Like, oh, Chiodos and Circa Survive and this and this. It's like they sort
Pierce the veil.
Pierce the veil. No, that was a little later than that. But
okay.
But anyways, so after Anthony Green decided that he didn't want to do the whole Seosin thing, he met up with his friend Colin Francescetto, and
they jammed out before. They've played music before.
They're from the same area, so they know each other, and they talked it over, and they wanted to start their own project. And that's where members, Colin and Brendan from This Day Forward came in.
Yeah.
And then I believe Nick Beard came from another band. Taken. And then Steve came from another band. It was basically, it's everything I always wished for in like that whole music scene thing, whereas like you have friends from other bands and you're real tight and you're like, we should do something. So like, if one band starts to sort of fall apart, he's like, well, I'm not doing anything anymore. Like, let's start doing something.
Yeah, I think This Day Forward may have stopped.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah.
But like I said, like having that close niche of band friends and fellow musicians that are around you, I imagine in Huntsville it'd be equivalent to like if some of the Hammer Party dudes and some of the Belting for Nosh dudes and then Logan McCoon on lead vocals.
Well, the Hammer Party dudes have been doing it for so long.
Oh, yeah.
Different names and different groups and different people. I mean, the fact that... Andrew and James have been playing for so long just kind of shows they found the right match for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like DC, but at the same time it's like he's only just starting with the band, so
totally. So they got the band together and they started doing their thing, and they recorded they didn't record their first album yet. They recorded a little four song little LP, EP. I never understood what that fucking thing is. LP. Is it limited press or what is it? What does LP and EP stand for?
I don't know what LP exactly is. I just know that like
back in my day we called them demos.
Yeah. An EP is more like a professional demo.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then I know studio album is the fucking thing.
Yeah. So they released a little thing called the Inuit Sessions where they just had 4 songs on there. Right. And those songs, I remember the main song that I took away from that one is a song called Act Appalled.
Right.
It has a lot of intensity to it. It has like
it's probably the most catchy too for like the first era of Circa Survive.
Yeah. It's very. I mean, it has the catchy chorus. It has like it just has like that energy and I'm sure I'll go more into it later, but like someone asked me, like, what is it about this band that you like? Because they often comment about his vocals. He has very high ranged vocals.
Very high range.
And like it being kind of like that.
It's raspy too in a certain sense.
But they mostly think whenever they hear his vocals, they think of another band who they've done shows with, Coheed and Cambria.
That's what I always related to this band.
And not everybody likes the high vocals. Me personally, I never thought I would, but there's just something about, I don't know, it just feels like high notes that you hear like on a guitar or something like that. It's just it's higher registered notes. So for me, I enjoy it. But someone will ask me like, why is it that you like this band so much? And for me, it's always just been the energy. It's kind of polar opposite of my personality, I feel, but I feel like me attracting so much to this energy, that makes me feel like that there is that energy inside of me that I just haven't harnessed yet and I haven't like completely let out. Right. So music like Act Appalled and how just large and how like energetic it feels right from the beginning. Like there's no like slow build up. It's like bam, it just goes straight into it. And it has like a little moment towards the middle where it kind of like slows it down a little bit, but then it just takes it right back nonstop.
Right.
The Great Golden Baby is so relaxed, it's so chill. It's just got like that, and it has a melodic feel to it that I've always inspired to create with my music. A lot of the early Before I Awake stuff was inspired to me a lot from like this sort of stuff, where it felt like the delayed guitars and then the melodies, all that stuff. That definitely came from Circa Survive. And then they had another song on there called Handshakes at Sunrise, which just, it has like this fucking like build of like this, like it starts with this drum bit. And Steve Clifford is definitely one of the most underrated drummers in the whole music scene, in my opinion. I think he's got, and the cool thing about him, and I'm gonna be jumping all over the place. So if I get out of the way, then fucking stop me and be like, fucking focus, goddammit.
You're a snowball.
Steve Clifford, I remember I first heard him and I was like, holy shit, dude, this guy's a phenomenal fucking drummer, man. He's doing some shit that's like some Whiplash type shit, like some like jazzy type, you know, like he's like, he had to have gone to like some sort of school of music. And I believe it was Luke from The Last Great Assault who once told me, he was like, nah, dude, he fucking dropped out in high school and he was like, you know, homeless, and then he just found a drum set in the garbage, in a dumpster, and then he just started playing drums. I was like, what the fuck? But it was like he obsessed so much over drums,
right,
that he just went complete nonstop with it, and that was always inspiring for me.
That's what that obsession turns into power.
Oh, absolutely.
You know.
But anyways, so they released this 4-song demo before they released their very first album, Juturna. And Juturna, I remember I first discovered this album back when, remember Fuse, the Fuse channel?
Yeah.
It was like MTV's cooler older brother.
Yeah.
Well, cooler little brother, because it was like it started after MTV, I guess. But anyways, they had like the alternative music shows. Like they had Uranium, where they would show like the metal, but then they'd have like the alternative, like the indie scene type music videos.
Right.
And I discovered them off of that. They played Act Appalled, and then they played their other music video in Fear and Faith.
Okay.
And I remember when I first heard those songs, this was before I'd heard the word indie before.
Yeah.
But I had no idea what it meant.
Right.
So I remember hearing these songs, and is this what indie is? Am I listening to indie music right now? And then later on, obviously, I came to grasp what exactly that word meant. But it being so young and not understanding a lot of what music terms and everything meant, discovering this album, these songs on the Fuse network, I was like, holy shit! I'm discovering like a whole new era of music.
I think I like indie.
Yeah, totally. But anyways, I know you listened to a little bit of each album.
Oh yeah.
What was your overall opinion of Juturna?
Well, I've got a lot to say about it, but mostly stuff I've read. When it comes down to it, my actual opinion is like Act Appalled and let's see which one. The one that you mentioned
In Fear and Faith.
In Fear and Faith was actually like, those were really good songs. Mm-hmm. The thing about this band in general, though, is like there's not a lot of differences for me. Like, it all sounds the same is an easy way to say it, but the reality is it's all really good for like background noise. You know what I mean? Like, it's all got and I've been told the opposite. I've been told before, you know, it's one of those bands that like are not so great with background noise because in order to really enjoy it, you have to listen to everything.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean? But for me, it's hard to slow it down, you know, because it does have that energy. It does have a lot of shit going on at a time. You know what I mean? And it's kind of got some, like, you could tell a prog influence in it.
Yeah.
Because it's ever changing, and there's very rarely spots where it's like the same. You know, even like a second verse or a second chorus is gonna have different shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I mean, it's just one of those things. I really enjoy Act Appalled from it, mostly just because, you know, maybe you're mistaken for someone who cares. Like, the lyrics are driving in a certain sense of you can really connect with it.
That was always the reason why I enjoyed Anthony's lyrics much like I enjoyed Chino Moreno's lyrics, because they always found a way to make you sort of like connect and like attach yourself to it in some way just by their choice of words. It wasn't so, I don't know, I feel like it was just a little bit more open-ended, whereas like you're kind of like, what's exactly you talking about, but then you sort of like find a way to attach it to your own life. It's like, oh, this definitely follows what this is going on in my life. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
So on this album, obviously it was their first album. April 19th, 2005, they announced on MySpace. On November 4th, 2005 is whenever the album came out. But on November 2004, the band kind of left a vague understanding on MySpace of what the sound would be, but told their fans, you know, check with Pure Volume and MySpace and YouTube, just stay updated. And shortly after the release, they ended up releasing the entire album on MySpace. So it was, you know,
those were such simpler times. The MySpace days, dude.
Now, you know what it's inspired by? This album.
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and House of Leaves.
House of Leaves.
Yeah.
Have you read that book?
No.
I didn't think you did.
No. Did you?
No, absolutely. Yeah. during this, whatchamacallit, all the research, I was like, I had time to fit in a book.
Uh-huh.
No, but obviously we've both seen Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Now, on 4/20, 2010, Brendan dismissed the claim that the album was entirely based on Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, but said that it was kind of like underlying, and it was more about just like human memories.
Yeah.
Says "Oh Hello" kind of exemplifies that. You know?
There's a few songs on this album that definitely, before I ever heard that, I was like, wait a second, this seems kind of like they got it from Eternal Sunshine. Wish Resign is a song. First off, the title of that song, Wish Resign, is a part of the whole poem, the Eternal Sunshine of the Spot, the Pope Alexander Pope poem. And then the song Meet Me in Montauk. I mean, that's obviously,
that was a specific, that was what was said in the movie.
Yeah, like a direct from the movie. So first off, just knowing that they're pulling from like my favorite movie of all time. Like, to me, that was like, okay, you guys are getting super cool points for that one. But Meet Me in Montauk is actually probably, if not their most beautiful song on that album.
Okay.
I'm taking that as you didn't listen to that one, did you?
No, I listened to them all, man.
Okay.
It's just I never really closed in and listened to it the way that you're supposed to. Only some of them could I have, done that.
Meet Me in Montauk was the only song on their album where Anthony Green began to display his guitar playing,
right?
Because Anthony Green, not only does he Circa Survive, but he has a solo project where he sings a lot of the songs that he personally writes. But this was the first time that he came in for Circa Survive and played an acoustic song, and lyrically, it's amazing. Musically, I mean, he claims that he doesn't think of himself as the greatest guitar player in the world, much like how I don't consider myself a guitar player at all, but I still like to pick at a guitar. Yeah. But it gave like a weird emotion, not a weird, but like just a real beautiful emotion, to where the rest of the album is just so energetic that when they took it down real soft, and they were able to show this side of themselves as a band. It was like they can do the heavy shit, they can do the soft shit, they can get intimate with you, you know, in many ways. So a band that has that sort of diversity in their sound has always been a band that I've always been interested in.
And especially like on the first album that they come out with, it's very important to be able to show that off.
Yeah, totally.
Be able to show that we can do anything for you. You know what I mean? Or anything in our realm of what we would like to do, obviously. You know, it's not like they're a band that's anyway trying to be pop or trying to, you know, just make money. You know, what's great is the fact that they are doing their own thing and making their own sound and making every endeavor to make it more them.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Other songs on this album is they have a hidden track at the very end of their album called House of Leaves, and I remember I used to listen to this album a lot whenever I was working overnights, and I remember I really wasn't starting to like working overnights. Like, it was really like depressing me after a while.
Yeah.
And there's like a lyric in that song was like, I've been lying wide awake, staring at the buzzing of the television, like just sort of like zoning out and like just listening to like the buzzing sound that the TV makes, you know?
Yeah.
And
Static.
And I was just sort of like imagining like I'm feeling that, like, where I'm just like zoning out and all I can hear is the buzzing of the fluorescent light from the lights, and I was like, oh my god, this is like that's the thing about this band is like some of their lyrics kind of hit really, really close to me, to where like if they're singing about like depressing stuff, it's usually very universal to what's going on in my life. So it's like, it's very like sniper like whenever it's trying to get to like those feels, like precision.
Yeah.
You know, like it hitting right on
hits right on it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that's always, it's been
frustrating.
It's kind of frustrating because like you don't always want to listen to the sad songs that always like trigger those memories.
Right.
But you can't help it sometimes by how well they execute it. Yeah. You know, whenever like the guitars and all of the music and everything's just on fucking point.
Right. It's real art.
Yeah, totally. And it's fucking torture sometimes because I have a pretty good story for one of their albums that they have later on, but it's torture sometimes because like you want to enjoy this band, but you don't want to be haunted by certain like thoughts and memories, and that's kind of what this band does for me. It's like they're my favorite band of all time, but there's some weight to this shit that kind of always comes off as overwhelming.
Right. This album, you know, as far as the sound, is very effectsy. You know, as far as, you know, coming out with their first album, this was something that was really effects driven. It had double melody on the guitars and polyrhythmic percussion. The guitars kind of had like a mix between jazz and shoegaze, and the album has been considered one of the most influential albums of the post-hardcore community. That's what I read.
I wish everyone in the world could see what I can see right now. You look like a news broadcaster with your fucking stack of paper.
Today.
No. I it's kind of like, I feel like they kind of did what Deftones did, and I'm probably going to refer back to them a lot. But like how Deftones sort of became like a leading force in like their genre of like nu metal. You know.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like Circa was kind of like the leaders of their
right.
of their thing. Last song I guess I would want to talk about on Juturna that I always found to be really awesome was Stop the Fucking Car.
Now that sounds interesting alone.
I believe that's a story of a time where Anthony and Colin did acid together. And
that
they
sounds
were
like fun.
I believe they were in a car and they did acid together. And I'm pretty sure that's where the title comes from, Stop the Fucking Car.
You know, I've never done acid. Surprisingly, I know. But I tell you what, I wouldn't do it in a car.
Sounds like a bad idea. Kids,
I definitely wouldn't do it while I'm driving the car.
Definitely
either.
Don't do acid while you're driving. Anyways, but like I said, this for me personally, this is one of those albums that I could listen to every single song on there and totally be okay with.
Yeah. And like I said before, I mean, even though I'm not a big fan of this band specifically, it's a band you can have on, I think, you know, and just really tell that this is not just art, but this is like heavily worked on from real musicians, you know. I mean, people really knowing what the fuck they're doing as they're executing it.
Speaking of, well, I mean, like art that's really worked on, their next album that they went into, On Letting Go, was such as that. I remember seeing something where Anthony was talking about how they were in the studio and their producer was working on it with them or whatever, and they had finished the album, but they constantly just wanted to keep going back in and adding stuff and then like changing stuff and adding stuff. And their producer's like, okay, this is going to be the last time you guys are in my studio. You know, this is the last session we're going to do. And he's like, and then Anthony was like, but we gotta do this. We got to do this. And then he would be like, okay, fine, we'll do it. And then at the very last one is like, okay, seriously, this is the last session we're going to do. Get the fuck out of my studio right now. Like, like these guys are like, they obsess over this stuff. And that's what I love about them so much is like,
which label were they under?
This one, I believe it was Equal Vision.
Oh yeah, this was their last one with Equal Vision.
Yeah. This was when they were still doing the indie stuff, but they brought on producers and they went into like, their studios, like not like a label studio or anything like that, but they were still doing their thing. On Letting Go, which funny enough, they just went on tour for their 10-year anniversary of this album. Like they're on tour right now as we speak. They're going to Houston at the Warehouse in like March for this tour.
You're going, aren't you?
I'm gonna do everything I possibly can to go. I love this album a whole lot. So if I could go on to see them playing this whole album in its entirety, that would be awesome. I've seen them twice now. I saw them in 2010 with my good friends Katie Hopkins and Amber Massey, and then I saw them 2 years ago with my BFF Gary Romansky, and that was a great time. But I would love to see them again.
It sounds like you're fishing to the audience right now. Hey guys, if you have an extra ticket, you know who wants one. I'm
going to just start a little GoFundMe. Help me go see my favorite band of all time. The tickets only cost like $30, but help me out. Anyways, onto this album. This for me, whenever I heard this album come out after Juturna, immediately I was like, bam, these guys have stepped it up. You know what I mean? Like Juturna, like I said before, it has like that alternative, like that, it has like a very like a starting band kind of feel to it. This one, it sounds like they just like,
it just sounds like, to me it sounds about the same, but it's A, tighter, and then B, like you've got more of a prominent bass. The bass is a little bit more out and doing like more of a precise job.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean?
And then also just like I just feel like the overall quality of, you can hear the difference in quality versus this one and their first one, which always, those little things make me happy, because it's like this band that I really enjoy is like starting to do good, and they're starting to get like better. You know, it's kind of like whenever you see your favorite band in like a garage show or like a basement show, and you see how shitty their equipment is, and then you see them play a show at like the local bar, and it's like they got half stacks now, they got more cymbals, their singer is kind of more on key, you know what I mean? It's like,
look at them,
they're
doing something.
Good on you guys. That's what it feels like whenever I hear a new album, because like they never like stay like in one spot, they're always progressing, they're always getting better and better. So for their first, and there's always a little bit of a I don't know what you want to call it, but like whenever a band that you really likes and they put out their sophomore album, it's usually either going to be hit or miss. Because you think about the first album you really loved, right? And then they come out with their second album, and the whole time you're thinking, well, they didn't do what they did in their first album, so
Now, I mean, I hate to interrupt you, but
you're gonna do it anyways.
I'm gonna do it anyway.
Cunt.
You called it a sophomore album. Is that something you only call the second thing, or do you go with it like all the way up into like fourth? Like fourth album, do you call it the senior album?
No, I don't do that.
Or is there like a junior for the third?
See, in the industry, we call it the second album, the sophomore album, but we stop at that because saying junior album and senior album just sounds kind of...
freshman album?
Anyways. So no, their sophomore album On Letting Go came out, and first single they released is called The Difference Between Medicine and Poison is in the Dose.
Oh yeah.
And I hear the song, and lyrically, the chorus, I think I was probably like 16 or 17 at the time. You're kind of going through those like teenage days of questioning yourself, kind of, I don't know if you're being more on like the emo side or whatever, but it's like hearing the lyrics, do you ever wish you were somebody else or something like that?
Yeah.
I was like, brother, I've been there. You know,
Honey, I've been there.
Yeah. But no, they were just sort of diving into a little bit more lyrics that just sort of like were hitting into those like questioning yourself and like trying to figure out your own life and everything like that. But then they also had really beautiful songs like "On Letting Go," which is on letting go on the album "On Letting Go." I always thought that was kind of funny, but no, they have a song on there where I think he's talk a lot of their lyrics. If you follow them and you start to like listen in on like stuff going on in their life, you can sort of figure out what he's talking about. Like I religiously follow these guys everywhere, so whenever I hear a certain lyric, it's like he's talking about his mother-in-law right now, and I know that because I watch all of his videos. I follow him everywhere. It's like he's talking about his mother-in-law right now. Makes me a super fan. Makes me probably a borderline stalker.
Oh yeah.
I don't care though. Like it's like little bits of trivia.
I think borderline stalkers are called creepers.
Probably, I'm a creeper for this band, definitely.
You ready for a fun fact?
Yeah, let's get a fun fact in there.
In spring of '08, the band released a Letting Go B-side called 1,000 Witnesses to raise money for charity called Invisible Children. Mm-hmm. And another on the B-sides was called The Most Dangerous Commercials. And that was to help support the relocation of a local music shop, Siren Records, in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, where they're from.
That wasn't a fun fact because I already knew that. I'm sorry.
It's a fun fact for the listener.
The Most Dangerous Commercials is actually like a very hardcore song that did you listen to that one?
Is it abrasive?
I don't know about that. I don't even know what that word means, so I don't know if I could say if it's abrasive or not. But it's just really fun, hardcore song.
That's cool.
I don't know. That's definitely one. I don't know. They released a lot. They've released 5 or 6 albums by now, but they released these little little side albums where they'll put like maybe 4 to 5 songs on there.
An EP.
Little EPs during their, which I remember hearing for one of their albums they recorded like 16 songs, but they were only going to put 10 songs on the album. But they're going to find another way of like putting those extra songs out, and that's exactly what they did. But anyways, On Letting Go, like I said before, I feel was like definitely an improvement. But I just feel like they were beginning to like find themselves. They're beginning to figure out what it is they were trying to do. What did you think? You listened to this album, I take it?
Yeah. Obviously, I really liked the big single, The Difference Between Modern Science and Poison is in the Dose. But I also like The Greatest Lie, too.
Oh, yeah. No, go ahead.
I just feel as if, like, those were 2 of the really more easier listening ones, you know, just kind of, I hate to use the word poppy for an indie band.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they were just a little bit more easier on the ear for somebody who's not looking for all the little details.
Yeah. Greatest Lie was actually a song that I heard while we were playing music, and I remember I showed it to Gary once, and I don't know, there was just something about the drums and then the guitar, because the guitar, it was very, like, you remember how it was just, like, very, like, delayed and very, like, very melodic.
Yeah.
I remember showing him that song, and like we started like we didn't jam that song out, but we jammed like that style.
That style, yeah.
I think you'd be surprised if you found out that this band actually had a lot of influence on some of the songs that we've written.
I wouldn't be. I could see that absolutely, especially with you and Gary's playing.
Yeah, and then also just like not their easier songs, but like their more intense songs, like in the Morning and Amazing. How it starts off just kind of like how Act Appalled, where it's just very like very consistent, very very nonstop. That sort of aggression, something that they pull from their first album. I think that's just something that defines them as a band, is just their energy. They have so much energy, and when you look at Anthony, I know you made the comment that he looks like a dick, like a erect penis,
or a turtle,
That's cool. I just feel like this music is just a representation of themselves, and sort of like the stuff that they go through. A lot of Brendan Ekstrom is my favorite guitar player of all time.
Okay.
And before he was even in the band, like he left This Day Forward, and he was like, he needed just something to do. He needed something musical to do to where it was like driving him crazy.
Right. And he's rhythm, isn't he?
they don't really have the whole
Okay,
rhythm.
so yeah, they're just doing polytunes. You know,
Yeah,
like
they
different melodies.
they don't want to like limit themselves to where like Colin's like, oh, I'm the lead guitar player, I can only play leads, and he's the rhythm, he only does the rhythms.
Take that, Wikipedia.
Yeah. No, they go back and forth. Like I've seen Colin solo, and Colin doesn't seem like the one that would solo much whenever you hear the sort of stuff that Brennan's doing, because Brennan is the one who does a lot of the solos. But then I've heard Brennan do the rhythms where Colin, you know what I'm saying? Like they go back and forth.
It's kind of important to be be able to handle both of them.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to be a guitarist, you might as well be one that can carry your own weight in every direction.
Yeah. But also I just think that they didn't want to like define themselves as like, I'm the rhythm guitar player. It's like, I want to be able to do anything I want, you know. There's always been like the sense of like freedom. Not just like musically, but like they've always just wanted like that
The music sounds free.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't sound like it's so caught in the barrier of this kind of music or the barrier of these specific songs in this specific order. You know, it sounds freeing, to be completely honest, because it does. It is just a raw emotion, like an emotional flow. Yeah. Instead of just a, you know, like this goes here, this goes here, this goes, you know. I know there's words that I could use that are better, but
no, I think you got it pretty good. But like I was saying, like they Brendan, he sort of like he was like he needed something to do musically, or you know, because it was just driving him crazy, and they sent him some tracks, and without them even knowing, like he threw on his guitar part to it and like sent it to them, and was like, this is what it sounds, you know, like there's just always like, I don't even know what I'm trying to say, man. But there's just always like that the emotions behind it. There's a very emotional band without it being a quote unquote emo band. Like we know what emo bands sound like, very very crying. It's very just sort of like pulling from their lives and pulling from the things that they go through and putting it very much into music. Both
as a music genre, it definitely did pull from the emo era. Mm-hmm. It's not an emo band, but I mean, it did take from that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Oh, no, yeah. I just don't think of them whenever I think of the hair swooping, makeup, and I want to kill myself.
No, they're not. Yeah. No. I mean, I think of pretty much, what was that? There's like one band I think of whenever I think emo. I think it might be like My Chemical Romance.
Yeah, totally.
Or there was one that was actually pretty good.
The Used,
yeah.
Yeah.
The Used was actually really good. Like, I can enjoy The Used, but they were emo.
Yeah, totally.
They did what they could with it. That was probably more screamo, though.
There was something about the hair swoop, and then like the eye makeup, and then like the snake bite lip piercings.
Or the taste of ink.
Yeah, definitely emo. But no, I've never once considered Circa Survive to be anywhere close to that. Sure, maybe they might pull stuff from here and there from there, but never.
From a lot, though. I mean, they really did take a lot of different stuff. That's why they are what they are, and not a... You know, that's why they fit under an indie category, because indie exists as a name for a lot of things.
Totally, yeah.
More so than probably pop. You know what I mean? It's just a lot of different options.
For sure. Other songs on here that stand out a lot for me, one in particular, Your Friends Are Gone. Like I was saying before, whereas like you love this band, but there's some songs that kind of torture you a little bit.
Right.
The song starting off, All Your Friends Are Gone. And then that sort of being in a time period, it was like, where'd all my friends go? You know what I mean?
Typo has a song called Everyone I Know Is Dead.
Yeah.
Same concept.
Totally, yeah. And then, I mean, there's just like that. It's very... This song in particular is very emotional. But when it gets towards like the very end of it, wherever he just belts out, all of your friends are gone, it was like, oh my God, man, you're kind of going into some places I don't want to go, but you sound so good when you do it, Anthony, please. But yeah, that's always been a song. And then Kicking Your Crosses Down, Semi-Constructive Criticism. The last time I saw Circa Survive, they started their set off with Semi-Constructive Criticism. And first thing in my head was like, this is a very interesting way to start your set off. Why didn't you start it off with this normal song, this other song that I think you would start your set off with, but how fucking energetic it is and how fucking explosive it is in the very beginning. It's like, it totally makes sense why you fucking started your show off with this song.
I think alone just the song titles are pretty fucking intellectual. In
oh yeah, very, very much so. After that, very fun. Excuse me. A very, very fun song off of that album is called Mandela. It has a completely different feel than the rest of the songs do on this album. It's incredibly heavily drum based, and then it just sort of has like this like a fun, like dancey, swingy feel to it that you may not expect, but
it was about Nelson Mandela.
I think so, because like somewhere in the song he's like, "Let the people be free" or something like that. I'm not even kidding. So I'm thinking maybe. I don't consider these guys to be very political, but when we come to a song that I know you really enjoyed, they definitely got really, really fucking political for a moment. You
remember when Circa Survive went all Rage Against the Machine? This is that moment.
Oh, okay. I was questioning myself, like, did they ever go?
Did they go Rage Against?
Did they go that far? No, I don't think they got that far. But, okay.
Fuck you! I won't do what you tell me.
Okay, so after this album, they left their record label, and they were looking for a new home, and then they found Atlanta Records, which is a major label. So when I heard this, I was like, my boys finally got signed to a big label. They're so grown up. I can't believe what I'm experiencing right now. I am so happy and so excited for you guys.
Right.
All of this was sort of put to a halt whenever Anthony Green went through a little bit of tragedy in his life. Yeah. Him and his lady friend Meredith Green, his wifey, they were working on having a child, and the child didn't make it. It was stillborn, and he was just fucking crushed by it, as I imagine anybody would be. So they try again. Baby doesn't make it. So that's twice that this has happened to him. And this literally destroys him, and he loses his mind. He checks himself into a crazy house, pretty much. I know that's not the PC term.
It was a 3-week stay in a mental institution.
Yeah. And
I did not know that was the cause of the mental illness.
Oh, it very much was. Very, very much was. And he talks a lot about that in this album.
Yeah. I know he talks about the mental illness. I didn't know that it was specifically about stillborn.
Oh, yeah. But going into this album...
This got dark.
It did. I'm sorry. The first single off of this album, called Get Out, was specifically written about him being in a mental institution. And
it was that was abrasive song. I know you said you don't know the word. I would say aggressive. It was a very aggressive song.
Yeah.
And that was really the only song that really spoke to me on the album. Like, I've listened to a lot of the songs on the album, but that was the one song that's like, you can pinpoint what this is.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
This specific album was very, very near and dear to me. I know I'm probably going to say that like 2 more times, but this one really was, because it was sort of the icebreaker and how I met my very, very good close friend, Christina Walters, who was on the show previously.
Yeah. Talking about music therapy?
Yeah, music therapy episode, Christina. We became friends on MySpace or Facebook. She's gonna kill me for not remembering which one it was, but we became friends on social media.
Same thing.
Yeah, we became friends on social media, and we were talking to each other. And I remember she was telling me a story of how she was going through like boy trouble or something like that. She was just a wee little lad back then, so she was going through some little boy trouble. And lad. And I was thinking, like, how can I help her out? Like, I don't know the exact words because I'm not a teenage girl, so I don't know how to, like, be there for her, like, for those emotions. So I was like, let me send you a song. Let me send you a really good song. So I sent her the song I Felt Free off this album by Circa Survive. And immediately, like, for some reason, I don't know why, but it fixed her. It cheered her up. It made her feel better. Right. And after that, we realized that we were going to be really close friends because I was able to help her in some way with music, and she appreciated it that much that she was like, I think we're going to be really good close friends, which we now are. But not only her, my very close friend Katie Hopkins. This was Circa Survive's like our favorite band,
right?
And I don't know so much for nowadays for her because she's listening to a whole bunch of weird shit nowadays. But back in the day, this was like our band that we would always enjoy and listen together, much like how Deftones and Perfect Circle was for us. Am I making you tired? You're yawning.
No, man. It's just been a long day of laying around in the bed.
But so we would listen and we would enjoy this band together. So whenever this album came out, and there was this big hype about Circa's coming out with the new album, and then we would hear like little demos or like hear like little bits and pieces of a song, and we get real excited about it. And one of those songs was called Frozen Creek, and it's probably like the more ballady song on the album. It's actually a song about they have a band house in the middle of nowhere, like next to a little creek, and
that's cool.
And that's where they practice. That's where they record their demos. That's where they do everything. They don't live there, but it's just sort of like their band house.
Yeah.
And some of the lyrics in that song is where on top the frozen creek, I would love to take you there, or something like that. Like it's very much just talking about how. And no, the main words was what is the lyrics? I'm going blank as far as lyrics go, but he's talking about that place and how how important of a place it is.
Now, that reminds me of Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Right. So lyrically, like when me and Katie heard that song, it was like, this is probably our favorite song off the album. But still going on, the ongoing trend with their songs is they have this energy. But the thing about this one though is I think because they were on a big label now, I think they kind of had more of like the poppy sound to it, where it was like,
this has been known as like a new chapter. The band describes it as a new chapter mostly because Anthony Green really steps up his guitar playing on this album. He does a lot more versus what he did before. So that's something.
Is that what you read on Wikipedia?
That's what I read on.
Well, no, this was actually a huge step for them, a new chapter for them, because the first two albums that they did, it had like that, like we've been saying, like that alternative, that emo, like that teenage kind of feel to it. And they said that they didn't want to be the band that you normally would see at Warped Tour. Yeah. Which, if you know Warped Tour, you know there's probably a lot of like punk bands, a lot of hardcore bands.
You say punk bands, man, but they were more like Sum 41 kind of punk.
Well, no, okay. You go back in the day, back when like MXPX and fucking Anti-Flag and those guys are playing Warped Tour. That's what I mean by punk. But fucking Yellow Card and My Chemical and Taking Back Sunday and
Yellow Card.
All those bands, like they basically says like, we don't want you to see us at Warped Tour for the rest of our lives. Like we want to actually, we want to go out and we want to do stuff.
They don't want to be on any side stages.
Yeah, totally. They don't want to be on the Ernie Ball stage or the or whatever those names of the stages are. So basically, they made a conscious decision. It's like, we want to be a serious band. We want to be taken seriously. So I think with that being said, and after you listen to this album, and then they go to some real serious topics about like going into a sane asylum and like trying to save this house that you created for your band and everything like that.
I do know that like MySpace Transmissions came out with an album for them, which was like 5 live tracks and a fucking cover song. You know what the cover song was? Senseless Apprentice from Nirvana.
Yep.
That was actually great. I really enjoyed that cover. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
That was something that I really dug, and I wish that was something I could find on Spotify, to be honest with you.
Did you know that they actually did... They were a part... I don't know what it was, but it was like this concert series where you pick a band and you do like a small set of your covers of their songs, and Circa Survive chose Nirvana. So they do like In Bloom, they do Heart Shaped Box, they do... Scentless Apprentice. I don't think they do Smells Like Teen Spirit, but like they do a shit ton of like Nirvana songs. And like I remember Anthony like got dressed up in like an actual like dress, kind of like how Kurt used to do.
That would be something to watch.
On YouTube.
Oh man,
we live in the world of YouTube nowadays.
Catch it.
Yeah,
I wish I'd have known.
Yeah, but yeah. So whenever they started doing Nirvana covers. Well, first off, they're heavily influenced by Nirvana. They're heavily influenced by Deftones. They're heavily influenced by another favorite band of mine called Dredge.
Yes.
So whenever they did Scentless Apprentice, it's like, it's kind of fucking cool that they're doing this.
They're influenced by Bjork too.
Bjork. Before they start their set, sometimes they'll play Bjork's cover of Unravel. Have you ever heard that song?
I don't think I've heard Unravel.
Yeah. But I think Radiohead has done that one as well.
Okay.
Like Radiohead, like he would play...
Radiohead would cover Bjork.
Yeah. He would sing Unravel, and then he would go straight into Everything in Its Right Place, like right after it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So once you hear it, it's kind of...
I may have seen that.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably, but it's a very, very beautiful song. Okay. You said that Get Out was really the only one that
For me, it was really the only one that stuck out, and it was like the right kind of angry that I like. But like I said, that Transmissions, hearing the fucking the Nirvana was pretty fucking awesome, and that was that same time frame.
Yeah. I think the songs that were on that was like Get Out, Glass Arrows, I Felt Free, and I think Through the Desert Alone, which Through the Desert Alone, that's a very good song. They have another song on there called The Longest Mile, which when I listen to that one, it's really telling a story, and the lyrics sort of create this image of like, have you ever seen the movie The Perfect Storm? Do you know what that movie is?
I've heard of it.
It's a movie about a bunch of fishermen that go on this boat, and they're going for like the big catch, but they had the option go home or go a little bit further where they know there's going to be more fish. But they go further and they catch, quote unquote, the perfect storm, which is the awful storm. Anyways, the lyrics that he's talking about, it kind of creates that image of like he's on a boat with like his crew, which his crew being his bandmates, like going like the extra mile, like going further than they anticipated on going. And it's all metaphor for like taking that extra step, going a little bit further.
It's going to take a lot, and it's going to be a risk.
Absolutely, yeah. So you get sort of like those lyrics where like he's talking about the band in the present moment, like taking the next step together. Yeah. So like to me, I always thought that was really cool. And then they did their very first instrumental song on this album, which you know how I love the instrumental music. Yes. I do. I talk about it all the damn time. They did a song called Compendium. And whenever I was beginning to watch, like they would release little teaser videos of them in the studio working on this album. I would always hear like bits and pieces of music to the specific song, and I was like, "Oh my god, that sounds so fucking amazing! What is that?" And then I would be like just searching, like, is there anywhere I could find this damn song? Because I need to hear the song. Everything I've been hearing, all these little fucking cock teases that I've been hearing.
Little cock teases.
I gotta hear it. You know what I mean? And then they finally released the album, and then I found it, and I was like, this was fucking worth it. Yeah. It was so beautiful, everything about it. And not only that, but it finally gave the band, the everyone else besides Anthony, a chance to shine out, because at this point, Anthony Green is starting to get the more of like the limelight, I guess you could say. Like the spotlight's on him most of the time from their fans. Because he does a lot of solo stuff. He does a lot of, at their shows, like he'll go out and like he'll perform some songs acoustically outside of the venue. You know, he kind of has like more of a connection with the fans than maybe the others do. Yeah. So they kind of put a lot of like, there's Circa Survive fans, and there's specifically Anthony Green fans that are at their shows. So whenever they came out with this song, I was like, you're finally getting to see the raw talent of these other dudes. Like you're hearing all the like. I always think that if any member of this band left, there's no way that they could really recover, because each member of this band has like a volatile role to their sound. I really don't think it's about. I don't think it's based so much on skill, but I think it's just so much on their connection together. I
also think that goes hand in hand with the fact that they never lost any members.
Oh, absolutely.
They've never had to. They never lost one and had to get a new one or whatever. It's been the same 5 since 04.
Oh, yeah.
05. Whenever they started, it's been very consistent. And honestly, that alone says a lot about a band.
Totally. There's always sometimes where I remember sometimes I would look up a band on Wikipedia, and like that one spot where in band members, and they usually have like the line graph where it's like from 04 to 07, and then 07 to 09, then 09 to present. It's like, Jesus, man.
This didn't have that at all.
Not at all. I think that's very cool. But like I said, if one member, doesn't matter if it was one of the guitar players and they just found another very talented guitar player to step in, and it's like, that's a whole bit of...
It would certainly be hard to recover, and if they did, it would be a different sound.
Absolutely. I don't think... part of me feels like I don't even know if I would enjoy it, because whenever Deftones did that, when obviously it was a different circumstance, Chi left, so they had to replace him with Sergio, and it actually helped their sound a lot, in my opinion.
Yeah. It wasn't the same, but they were not going for the same.
Yeah. For some reason, if they did it with Circa Survive, I don't know how much I would enjoy it, but that's just me personally.
Yeah. It'd just be hard to work with a new person after spending, over 10 years for sure. You know what I mean? Working with the same crew.
Yeah.
You have a jive. You've got a way that you do things. To start over that, or for it to be any different, would be a lot of work in its own. I mean, how would you deal with, band decisions? I mean, especially, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's just going to be a whole different thing. It would take at least a year of just figuring that person out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of issues would come from that, I can only imagine.
Yeah. Thankfully, that's not happened yet. Okay, so after this album, I know it's going to be an album that you kind of went balls deep with. Not balls deep with, but you found that one song that
it was the one song that really did a lot for me. Violent Waves.
This was the album that I told you that you had to listen
to. You said, dude, listen to Violent Waves.
Yeah.
Just the whole thing, man. I didn't listen to the whole. I listened to I started with the first song. I'm like, nah, I like this. No, I did listen to more of it though. Let's see. The release date was August 28th, 2012, but it was announced June 25th, 2012, that the title was going to be Violent Waves, and they came out as well with the track called Suitcase. And also said that it was going to be self-released, so it wasn't.
Yeah, they got off their label. I remember them saying like they were happy with their previous album, Blue Sky. We didn't even say the name of the album. Blue Sky Noise was the previous album. I'm so sorry about that. Blue Sky Noise was the. They were happy with Blue Sky Noise, and Get Out is probably their biggest single that they've ever released. That album actually went to number 11, which is the highest they've ever gone on the charts. So like that album was a huge thing for them. But after that album, they decided that they want to go back to doing it themselves.
Right. And it was great. The album starts off with Birth of an Economic Hitman.
Birth of the Economic.
Birth of the. I missed the "the" when I wrote it down, but I knew the name of the song. And the song is fucking amazing.
Right.
Like, it hits every level. Whenever I said, I really dig in this song, you text me back. You were something along the lines of, God, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, everything about this song, whenever...
It's just so good.
Yeah, no, whenever there was hype that they were coming out with a new album, of course, obviously, I was like, yes. But then whenever I heard this... That's right, I said it.
Yas.
That's shout out to Christina. Yas. No. But I heard the first single. No, I didn't hear the first single. I heard them like since I was obsessed with watching them on YouTube. I would always be like, Circa Survive, new song, in hope that maybe I could catch like a shitty recording from a cell phone at a show where they were like, hey, we're gonna play a new song.
God, those piss me off.
Yeah, but I found one, and that turned out to be Birth of the Economic Hitman, which I remember before they didn't have a title for that song yet, so I think they just called it Epic, which to me was really awesome because I remember we wrote a song called Epic once, but and it turned out to be that song. And then hearing the words, nothing is sacred, in the choruses, and all the lyrics I thought were amazing.
I saw the live show of that as well, and just kind of like the way that he moves his mouth is very turtly.
Yeah.
He's snapping.
The guitar part at the very end, like there's like a brief pause where like the bass, Nick does this thing with his bass where he just makes it sound so fucking crunchy, and then at the end of it, right at the end of that, Brendan goes into this sick ass solo. I just remember thinking like I've thrashed while listening to music where you just do like a body headbang,
right?
Not just the head, but to go put your full body into it. That one part whenever he goes into the solo at the very end, like
that whole end after that grungy bass, it goes into that perfect the perfect guitar solo, like, you know what I mean? And it just sounds so pure. It's such a good feeling. And then you hear Anthony Green like, It's like he's not really saying anything. Like I think he says something like on the live version because he's really enunciating whatever it is. But like he's just kind of like mumbling it in the actual like album recording. But everything is so fucking pure together, especially like. I like the song from beginning to end, but whenever it hits like that boom, boom, boom with the bass, like after that, like that is fucking gold all the way through.
Absolutely, man. You know what that song's about?
Hitmen?
No. They wrote that song just whenever that whole "we are the 99%, we are the 1%" like those like remember those protests where those white kids were getting spray painted in the they were getting pepper sprayed in the face or whatever at colleges or whatever. This is why I was saying, like, I don't think of them as like a political band, much like Rage.
Right.
But whenever that stuff was going on, like, they were out in the protest, like, performing and like they were doing shows, and they wrote this song based off of like the greedy banks and all of, like that topical stuff that was going on at the time.
And I mean, you say it's topical for the time, but the reality is it's just only beginning to be like heard more often. More people are talking about it throughout the time. People were talking about it back in the day, and it's always been a constant thing. It's just with the beauty of the internet. We know everything now. We know everything there is to know. We just don't know what's all bullshit too. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to really pick out and choose what you think is. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? The correct truth. I mean, there's so much information out there. It's just, if there really are lizard people in government positions, right? We don't know because that doesn't seem likely. Mm-hmm. I believe that they are lizards.
Probably.
No, I'm just kidding.
So yeah, this album, I knew I was going to say it again, but this one is actually extremely, extremely very important to me. Yeah. This was another album that me and my good friend Christina, we really bonded over. Like, I remember we legitimately like listened to this album while on Skype with each other, and we would just jam out to it together. Like, I was living in Michigan at the time, and she was down here in Huntsville, so that was really like the only way we could hang out and listen to music together. So we listened to this whole album together, and we found like our absolute favorite songs. I'm pretty sure her favorite song on this album is I'll Find a Way.
Okay.
But I'm going to go into something I've never even talked about, never even thought about talking about. So I moved to Michigan. You got this. What's that look in your eye, man?
I just don't know where you're going with this.
That's perfect. I never know where you're going with this shit. Okay, so I moved away from Huntsville and I moved to Michigan. I know I've said that probably 1,000 times. But I had a very good close friend who I talked about earlier on this episode. Her name's Katie Hopkins. And she's been my best friend for who knows how many years now, because it's been fucking forever. And when I moved, we stopped talking to each other.
Right.
Dead silence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was beginning to miss her so damn much. It was just sort of like one of those things where it's like I'm having like these crazy ass dreams about her because I'm having this hard time of handling not talking to my best friend anymore. Yeah. And I remember.
I knew the depression when you went through it.
Oh yeah, dude, it's fucking tough.
I remember it, and there wasn't really anything I could do for it, obviously, because that,
Yeah. And I didn't expect anything. It was just sort of like this thing that I was always internally going on inside. But I heard this album, and I put it on my headphones when I was going to sleep one night. And that night, I had a dream about Katie.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit, this is... I remember that next morning, I woke up and I wrote it. I wrote it down. I was like, holy shit, this is fucking crazy. Very next night, I did the same thing because I really love this album. It's probably my favorite album that they've released. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to listen to it while I go to sleep. That night, I had a dream about her. I'm starting to catch on with some sort of trending thing going on here, is I'm starting to see my best friend in my dreams while I listen to this album. So I was like, I'm going to listen to this goddamn album every single night if that means I get to see my friend. And that's basically how it was for like a week straight. I'm not even kidding. Like every single night, I would run into her somewhere in my dreams while listening to this album when I was falling asleep. And I don't know if it means anything that this album was one of their darker albums, tonally or lyrically. I mean, not nearly as dark as...
Certainly puts you in a spot.
Yeah, there's a song on there called Sharp Practice that's very uplifting and very powerful, very energetic.
I feel like I like that song too as well. I saw the music video. The music video is fucking rad.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool, man.
Radical, man.
It's rad as fuck. But it puts me in a weird spot. Uh-huh. Like, it just makes me feel weird. Like, I like that, but it's just kind of like hard to gauge how it's supposed to make me feel whenever I listen to it because of all the changes, you know, and it goes back in certain ways. So so strange, but I like it because you could tell there's a lot of work.
Yeah,
that goes into it.
But I think whenever I break everything down with this album, Birth Like the Economic Hitman, Nothing is Sacred, Sharp Practice, You Get What You Paid For, Suitcase, I'm Buried in Your Glow, Will You Take Me With You When You Go, The Lottery, what is the fucking words of The Lottery? I can't let this. Wait, no. I won't let it tear us apart. Like all these lyrics, kind of like going in, and then the next song, My Only Friend. You know what I mean? It's like those little like subtle messages being.
She wasn't your only.
I know that. But you know what I'm saying? Like those little subliminal messages, like those quick flashing images that you see, and then it sort of like gets stuck in your head somewhere. Yeah. This album,
it's almost like an anxiety.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Oh my God. Right. And I've never even thought of it like that before, but it totally makes sense.
Oh yeah, I get it.
Yeah. And then there was another song on there, "Think of Me When They Sound," and the lyrics basically go like, "How long will you wait for me?" or something like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just like there is like so much. There's such a dark element to this album with me, but I love it for how beautiful it sounds. It's really not anything I can steer clear of, because when we were listening, when I was listening to the music before, because I noticed like I've listened to every single album 1,000 times, but I hadn't listened to them in a good while. I listened to that album in a good while. I wanted to listen to it again. Those memories of like that time period were kind of coming back to me. Yeah. And I was just sort of like, wow, like I didn't feel teary-eyed, but I just felt like the emotions again. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like these emotions from fucking like 5 years ago. Yeah. So it's crazy, we always say, that's the crazy thing about music, how it takes you back to those.
Yeah. And it makes you feel what you felt before. Yeah. I mean, even for me, like I'll smell things differently going back in time. You know what I mean? Like certain smells will put me back where I was. Yeah. So that works the same auditorily, as it does visually. Certain senses can put your mind right there where it was. Right. It's so strange.
Absolutely. Other than that, for this album, this is probably each of their albums I know I could listen to from top to bottom, but this is probably the one that I would consider like my favorite album so far of theirs. Just because it just has like a really overall just good tone to it that I know, like I said, it's dark as hell, but like I said, there's just something beautiful about it that I really connect with a lot more than the other ones. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's probably why I dig it too, just because, I like dark. Yeah. It doesn't have to be aggressive.
I figured out of all of their stuff, their last two albums, I think you would enjoy the most, just because how darker and how heavy they are compared to like the previous ones.
Are we ready for this next one?
Yeah, we can totally go into their...
Okay, well, I'll have to say that the first song that I actually had any kind of connection to, really, that I dug was from the song Schema. Mm-hmm. Is that how it's pronounced?
I think Schema.
Schema? I don't know. It's in my head right now. Yeah. The music video was pretty interesting, of like a baby boxing or some shit like that. Yeah. A lot of energy. Yeah. Like it was aggressive. Okay, this album, Deconsensus. Yeah. It was their first one signed with Sumerian Records, which is I think primarily known as like a metal label.
I'm not exactly sure. I always thought they were kind of more of like the alternative.
That could be true. I mean, I'm just pulling that out of my ass. I've seen it so many times used with metal records. So much of a connection between their based on.
But that doesn't mean anything, because fucking Deftones got signed to Madonna's label.
That's true. It doesn't mean everything, but this was, at least in Circa's opinion, the most aggressive Circa album there was.
It very much was. Yeah.
And that's something I can definitely pick up from. This is the first album from front to back where Green said he wouldn't have made any changes. Yeah. Most of the times, whenever a musician comes out with an album, he puts a lot of work into it, or they put a lot of work into it, and if they're a good ear, they can usually hear the mistakes that were made, where they would have gone back. And so it means a lot, either that or he's egotistical at this point. No, but I think that it does mean a lot. If you've got so many albums and there's one album and you're just like, this all the way through was exactly what I wanted. This implemented, executed the exact way that it should have been. That, to me, means a lot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This was also the first album that they did where Anthony was completely sober.
Ooh, I didn't know that he did drugs. But, I would have to say that it means kind of something whenever every one of your albums comes out on April 20th.
Yeah, that's true.
Does it say something?
That's true. But no.
But when you say sober, is this including pot? Because some people don't include that in the you don't know?
It's talking about heroin.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was a heroin addict.
Yeah. He that's something he's been in and out of rehab for a majority of their career.
I did not know that.
Yeah, a lot of cocaine, heroin addictions. So there'd be like a lot of albums where he was on cocaine or he was on heroin, and then he would do it mostly because of the anxieties of being on tour. He has kids now. He's married.
Yeah, I've seen the footage of all that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I would have to say this is kind of one of those things that Wikipedia says I'm going to mind my own business about.
Whenever I told you that I'm a borderline stalker with these guys. I know a lot about that. It was actually something that was an on and off again problem for this band that actually could have led to them tearing apart.
Yeah.
And he would go into rehab and he would get fixed up, and then he would be on the road, and then the guys would notice like, oh, Anthony's using again. Yeah. And it became one of those like punches to the gut, where it was like, what do we do? And they had that moment right before this album came out, and I remember reading something where Anthony was like, he literally just broke down in front of his wife, and he was like, I want help, I want to be better, I want, yeah. So he went to rehab for a good while, and then came out, better than ever. I remember seeing footage of him like working out a lot more, like CrossFit stuff, which he's always been like a skinny dude, but like noticing like him being more buffed out now is like.
Well, I think what it comes down to is, whenever you change one, like people are different. Okay, some people can make easy changes. Like if they've got a big issue, an addiction problem or a life thing that they just have to change, they can do it subtly. Mm-hmm. But I think most people, and this is only my opinion, I think most people have to change their whole lives.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? And so like, with me, certain things, giving up one thing, I do have to change my whole life, but at the same time, not. Like, it's hard to explain. Like, giving up cigarettes, I've done it. I can do it. I just recently, specifically with cigarettes, but, whether I've got to add something else or not, it makes it a lot easier if there's something else that I'm putting in there. Like, some people chew bubble gum or whatever, you know what I mean? But I think most of the time what it comes down to is, like, you got to change your whole life. You can't go to places where you smoke anymore. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. And I would imagine the whole CrossFit thing's probably a lot of that. He may not have really needed it if he's already in good health, but just, the whole new me, new style, new concept kind of thing, I think that it definitely shows.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think whenever I heard this album for the first time, I immediately knew something was different. It definitely has some different feelings to it, different tone than the other ones do. Hearing them get low, hearing them get more aggressive. Right. Not just aggressive as in like energetic, but like more
it had some energy.
No, it most definitely had energy, but I'm not talking about like that sort of power. I'm talking about like the hit you in the face really fucking hard kind of power. Yeah. Like you're talking about with Skimmed, like the way it just completely starts off, like it has like this really piercing sound, which I think Colin, like he takes like the neck of the guitar and like he sort of plucks it with a guitar pick. Yeah. And when he has like a certain effect going on, it has like this real like piercing, just standout sound, and then the drums are just constantly fucking going, and then once they sort of clear out from that and they go into their verse, there's this rhythm like dun 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 dun, very low, but still it just sounds very like, just very like punchy, just very very hard. Whenever I heard that, I was like, they're going somewhere completely different, which I know they've always done that with their albums, but now they're getting heavy.
Is it like chunking?
Yeah, kind of like Paul Muti type stuff, I guess. Yeah. But they're getting heavy, which is something that they haven't done before. They've always been energetic. They've always been melodic. They've always been emotional, but they've never gone heavy before.
Yeah.
And I know you might think whenever I say heavy, like you've heard heavy before, you know what heavy is, and you might hear some of these songs, you may not think it's not what I clarify as like heavy, but for their sound and for their what they're used to doing, like to them, this is like the heaviest thing that they could have probably done. You know,
absolutely.
but and still be them,
still good, and
still be
their
themselves,
style.
still be themselves, and not just selling out and just doing like what fucking all these bands where they're open, you know, dun 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 dun, you know, like all those rhythms or whatever, like most people do.
They're not turning into thrash metal.
No, not at all. After Schema, they have a song called "Child of the Desert," which is like really fun. And when I saw them live, like it was funny because like they were like, "Okay, we're gonna play the last song for the night," and of course the audience is like, "Fuck you, no," you know. But then Anthony was like, "We're not. This really isn't the last song. I'm just saying it's the last song. We're gonna go off the stage and then we're gonna come back. It's a thing, guys. Just go with it, you know."
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that before. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Just break the third wall,
right?
Rob.
Yeah. But for Child of the Desert, they did this thing where he goes like, "All right, for this song, I want everyone in the audience to be just completely still, just be completely frozen stiff, and when I give you the cue, just let go." And there's this bit. Like it's just constantly building up. Like it's a very chill song for the most part, but then it kind of breaks away and it's doing like this sort of like build up type thing, and then there's a slight pause, and then it just fucking goes down 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 down, like it just goes fucking kind of like twangy western almost, but it's fun as fuck. But whenever that moment came up right before that, he was like, "Are you ready?" And then he just fucking like threw his hand out to them, like just like releasing them from their frozen state, and like everyone just went fucking nuts, like fucking. I was the perfect. I know there's a video of it because that's one of the things that they do for their shows.
Yeah.
But just seeing everyone just like be stiff, like for like one spot, and then as soon as like he just unleashed them, and just seeing everyone just fucking go fucking ape shit.
Love it
shit, man. It was fucking awesome.
Oh man.
After that one, they have a song called "Only the Sun," which is a very awesome, like probably to me, in my opinion, like one of the most awesome songs they've ever come up with. It just got this really weird feel to it, where it has like darkness to it, like a darkness type feel to it, like with some of the notes that they do.
Yeah.
And then Brandon, being my favorite guitar player, he doesn't disappoint. He does this pretty sick ass guitar solo at the end of it, and I don't know. It's just always been like whenever I saw them live and they did that song, like that was the most hyped I'd ever been for any live performance. And I've noticed that this entire episode, not one of us has picked a song that we wanted to go with, and I think I'm gonna choose a song that I want to go with to show off. That's off this album. There's actually a small story for it, but I won't go too far into it. I just remember I was with my band. I was with my singer and I was with my guitar player, and we were working on music, and it really wasn't going that great. We were arguing with each other. It was sort of like not a really positive environment, and I was getting kind of upset about that because it's not kind of the environment I want to be in with the band. You know,
Right.
I know
There's a lot of that.
there's always going to be indifferences. You know, I always know that, but just the way that we were handling it, like it just made me very upset. And I went home and I was just like fucking really emotional. I was like, I can't believe this is happening. Like I just can't believe it. I got really over emotional about it. And I listened to a Circa Survive song, and it was saying a lot of what I was feeling. And then I sent it to Gary, and it's like, I want you, and I won't say his name, but I want you and so to listen to this song because that's exactly how I feel right now. And they listened to it, and then we sort of worked it out after that.
Yeah.
But the song I'm gonna go with, and this isn't like the one song that I would choose to like define why I love this band, because I could probably pick like 4 songs off each album that's like, this is my song, this is my, you know what I mean? Because there's so many songs off of their catalog of music. But for right now, I guess this is just a really good song that would, I think in the moment right now, I really feel. The song is called Nesting Dolls. And we'll have a link, and you can click on it, and you can listen to it your own damn selves. Okay. That song, like I said before, some of the lyrics, a lot of the I don't want to feel like this ever again, and just like this overall theme of like not trying to be in a situation that you once were in and trying to,
Right.
go away from that.
Which album was this one off of?
This was off of
The
Dissensus.
last one?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And when we were watching it, you made a comment of like how we're only halfway through the song. The song is like 7 minutes long, but
We were watching the live version.
yeah. But I'm saying the actual song itself is like 7 minutes long.
Right.
It's actually like 2 minutes worth of like real song, and then like 4 minutes or 5 minutes of like
Jamming it out.
yeah. And that's something that they started doing. I think they did a lot with with Violent Waves, where they're letting the music sort of like take you.
Yeah.
By kind of having like these little post sessions after like at the end of the song where they just sort of write it out at the very end.
Well,
And
it was really good. I mean, I can see like the way that they went into it was very very musical, in the sense of like what I like from like some of like the softer Nine Inch Nails songs.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see how your taste in music definitely thrives on this kind of stuff because of things like This Will Destroy You.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like the place that it puts you just on a musical aspect.
oh, absolutely. Yeah. So if this song in itself was just an instrumental song and there wasn't lyrics, I would have probably fallen in love with it just the same. But whenever he adds the I don't want to feel like this ever again. That's sort of, it reminds me, and this is kind of might be a bit odd of a comparison, but like Under the Bridge by Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah.
I don't want to feel like I did that day. Yeah. Take me to the place I love. Take it all away.
I don't ever wanna feel.
Yeah, like that same feeling of like I was in a bad place, but I'm not there anymore. Or I don't want to be there anymore. I want to be in a better place.
Yeah.
So
that's didn't have those sexy ladies under the bridge downtown.
Those gilfs that were singing.
I don't know.
There was a couple of old ladies that were singing that one.
Who sings that one.
But man, I guess that we could probably wrap it up with that.
Yeah, man. I don't really need to put out a song, but just whenever you guys get a chance, you guys heard me talking about Birth of the Economic Hitman. Listen to that one. So, one thing I want to mention before we wrap everything up is the artwork. The artwork for all these albums are fucking phenomenal. And that's one thing that I really liked talking about, or doing the research for this band. I wanted to go on a side note of, I don't really know how to pronounce his name, but it's like Esau Andrews.
Yeah.
Esao Andrews. He's a surrealist artist, and he does all of the albums for Circa Survive,
as well as his own artwork. That I follow him on Instagram, and he's got some pretty interesting stuff.
It's and considering I'm a big fan of surrealism in general, I've always been balls deep in stories of like Salvador Dali.
I was unaware.
I do read Dalai Lama books, but also stories on Salvador Dali, which is one of the beginning of surrealism. This one's still kicking it, obviously, and most of his career is doing stuff for Circa Survive, and I think his ideal thing is he wants to do novels. You know what I mean? Books. But I looked at a giant portfolio of artwork that he did and does, and a lot of like blimps and balloons. His thing is balloons, which is very obvious in like the second album.
On Letting Go, yeah, it's of a best way to describe it is it's a hot air balloon with like a female body attached to the bottom of it with her head on fire.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. This Dali-esque guy, actually.
Yeah. No,
a lot of his stuff is naked women, grim colors, and balloons. Yeah. Of all kinds. Every shape, every kind of balloon you can think of.
Right.
But it's awesome fucking work. And I definitely thought that it would be worth mentioning.
Oh, yeah. I really enjoyed his artwork for Blue Sky Noise. It's got like this little boy. He's got his palm sort of showing, but then he's got like some like weird ass monster growing out of his stomach or something like that. Like I don't know, some weird stuff, but I think it's very suiting for this kind of music. I remember they. I
like the one for the Inuit sessions.
Oh yeah, that's like some weird little monster thing.
Yeah. I like monster things.
Yeah.
But it works for surrealism in general.
I remember for Violent Waves, they had an original cover, which I have a T-shirt for Violent Waves. All it was like it was like a planet Earth in outer space, and like there was like a sailboat on the top of it, sort of like riding on Earth or whatever.
Yeah.
And like that's cool and all, but then like they reissued it where I don't know if he did the artwork for that the original one, but he did like some other type of artwork for it, where it's like just some weird shit, man. I can't even come close to describe. Me trying to describe it would do it no justice. So definitely check his artwork out. He's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, buddy. Hey, man, thanks for giving my favorite band of all time a chance. To the listener, you have no idea how fucking anti-Circa Survive this guy was for like the longest time.
I still am.
Yeah, much how I'm very much am against one of his favorite bands, Mindless Self-Indulgence. He's been very much against my favorite band, Circa Survive. So whenever you decided that you wanted to do this episode, I was like, thank you so much for at least having an open heart and an open mind to something that I'm interested in. Not to get nitpicky, but like Nine Inch Nails, Marilyn Manson. It's obvious who's really running this show and who's sort of just kind of hanging out in the background going for the ride. So no, I really appreciate you just giving it an open heart and open mind to listen to new music and listening to music that I'm very passionate about.
Right.
That being said, now I have to bite the fucking bullet, and next episode will probably be Mindless Self-Indulgence.
No, that's not true. We actually have a long list of options that you guys hooked us up with. So I don't know about the next episode,
but keep going with that list, man. Add on to it.
Hell yeah, add on to the list. We have a giant fucking list, and we're gonna figure out a fair way, whether it be with one of those 20-sided dice, which I'd love to do. I'd love to have that. Like we will come with a method that we're not straight picking from.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And a tangible way to really get you guys' choices out there. And we're going to keep that list, and we're going to keep asking you guys to add to it until we get them all done, which that'll be like,
20,000 years from now.
20,000th episode, maybe.
Yeah.
We'll, yeah. So the next, I would say that the next showcase special we do should be listener choice.
That sounds like a good idea to me, sir. But until that time, Johnny, good night, goodbye, and good luck.